Hey, what's going on?
You
Black
tell me,
comic book
man.
community. Um, I'm just telling you right now, I'm so excited about the opportunity I have tonight for a great interview. But I want to kick off by asking you, Paul, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. Pound it out.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, you're supposed to go that
So,
way. All right, fine.
okay, one more time. Let's do it again. There we go. Got it. So, um, look, I've actually been looking forward to this interview for over a year after I first read the one of the books from this creator,
Yeah.
this Afrofuturist creator, and finally have an opportunity to talk with him, interviewing him, and chop it up. So let me just give you a quick introduction about Mr. Tim Fielder. Tim Fielder is an illustrator, concept designer, cartoonist, and animator born in Tupelo, Mississippi, and raised in Clarksdale, Mississippi. He has a lifelong love of visual Afrofuturism, pulp entertainment, and action films. He holds the Afrofuturists such as Samuel R. Delany, Octavia Butler, Pedro Bell, and Overton Loyd as major influences. He's known for the graphic novel Infinitum, an Afrofuturist Tale, published by HarperCollins Amistad in 2021. Also, the Glyph award-winning Matty's Rocket, and his historic collaboration with scholar Walter Greason on the graphic history of hip hop. So he's known for participating in the Carnegie Hall Afrofuturism Festival exhibit, Black Metropolis, and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture exhibit, Afrofuturism, A History of Black Futures. So it goes without saying that we are extremely excited to have this interview today with Mr. Tim Fielder. So let's bring him on right now.
We need to have like an applause thing.
Yeah, we do.
I'm gonna tell you guys do the pound, so there's my pound.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do one more too. Mr. Tim Fielder.
Keep on back. Keep on back. Keep on back. Keep on
back. There we go. We got you.
Yes, sir. Salute. We stand ready to
go. So, Tim, first of all, the thing that attracted us was Infinitum, but you've got some other great things that you've worked on and are currently working on about to come up. So we want to talk about all those things tonight. But
my pleasure. Thank you guys so much for bringing me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for being
absolutely. Here. Yes. But the first thing we want to do is maybe just do a quick introduction to Infinitum. If you could just take maybe a minute to give your elevator pitch on Infinitum.
Let me say one thing about it.
Okay. Go ahead.
Started just for the fans that are out there that are watching this now. The term epic is a term that's thrown out all the time, right? Like we hear that phrase, "Oh, that was so epic. I saw this movie, it was epic. I read this book, it was epic." Never in the history of that word has it been more apropos than this book.
Thank you.
We're going to get into it, but I just want to start off by just saying my hat's off to you, brother, because there's not a single person I know who's read this book who has not used that term. It's truly a fantastic work of art.
Thank you.
On many levels.
Thank you. That moves me more than you know. It was a labor of love. I wanted to do something. I don't know if I succeeded. Certainly, I look at it and I see, well, I'm not one of those people. I see everything that's wrong with it. I don't feel that way, but I certainly know what I did. I wanted to do something that was worthy of your time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And not just worthy of your time. Oh, I read a book. I had a good read, but hopefully impart some level of thought so we could ponder the human condition, but specifically the Black human condition, but also as men, when it comes to literature and things like that, Black men are tend, sometimes in speculative fiction, tend to be not as primary. So I wanted to do something specifically for us. And it was going to feature everybody, and everybody can relate to the story, and I don't want anyone to think that, that's all about Matty's Rock is about a woman,
Yeah.
But Infinitum, and I guess I'll segue into my elevator pitch, is about an African warlord who, through a moment of hubris, makes the error of crossing someone who is a jealous lover, who he is in turn cursed with the gift of immortality. As a result, being forced to live through the ages, through the ancient African past, into the slave trade, into the present Black existence, into interstellar space and interstellar war, and beyond race to the end of time. And that is what Infinitum is. I wanted to do something, when you see movies like Ron, Kurosawa's films, Ron and Kagemusha and Rashima, I wanted to do something like that with us, but it was big, because they don't often show us that way, but I also will absolutely, willfully admit that I was pulling from every influence. There's a little bit of Octavia in there, obviously, Chip Delaney, obviously, Stephen Barnes is in there. You can't really have Black characters, male characters. We didn't really have that in kind of science fiction till Stephen Barnes did it, where they were not just like standalone characters. These are the characters that had agency, but they were men of action, and there was action in it. So Stephen Barnes, I attribute as the author in terms of the Black speculative scenario that gave, at least for me, but he gave me permission to say, oh, you can do a character, and that's okay to go all in on it. With the Street Lethal series, Aubrey Knight series, is just, phenomenal. So Infinitum was just as much, and I know I've gone way over my 30-second thing, but I just wanted to do something that touched on all of the aspects of Afrofuturism, did it in an entertaining way, because I am trying to entertain folks and give them something that they'll enjoy, but also to allow them, what is it Stacey Robinson said, that he reminded me, he was like, I wanted to do stories. Black people deserve epic stories.
Right.
And that was my job.
Black people deserve to have nice things too.
Yeah.
I just want to highlight this comment from Gordon in the chat, so
thank you.
Thanks. Yeah. So with that said, the thing that gets me also is, it actually had me pondering, what would I do that's different from this man in this story? Because as Afrofuturistic as it was, and as much science fiction as it continues to grow into, is real in terms of what would you do if you were in this man's situation, right? Would you continue to live the same lifestyle, or would you evolve and try, and and that was one thing that really got me, because through time he got to wear many hats and to try different ways of being, right? So I guess my first question for you is, how did you come up with the overall story? Like, did you have a concept first that developed into a story, or did you say, I don't know, let me create this thing that starts and see what might naturally flow out of it, or did you have a clear path defined?
Yeah. So I came up with this story. It was basically the impetus of it was, when you grow up and you see things like Night of the Living Dead, right? End scene, the smartest guy that he avoids getting bitten by a zombie. He comes out, he gets away. All the idiots are behind him, dead, being eaten, but he gets away. But he's running up the hill, and what happens? He gets shot.
Thank you. Shot. Yep.
Ernie Hudson, Leviathan, he makes it through the whole movie. He gets right up to the surface, and the Leviathan kills him just as he's about to get away. He's dead. Yaphet Kotto, Alien. Characters, he's a bit of brash, and no less brash than Ripley, by the way, right? But he sacrifices himself for the white woman, and the alien doesn't just kill him regular, snatches his heart out of his chest. So when you see that over and over and over and over and over again, Luke Cage just can't be a hero. He has to be a hero for hire.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So he's not just doing it for virtuous reasons like our hero. He has to be paid for doing the right thing, right? Now, let me say for the record, if I was given the opportunity to do Luke Cage, of course I would do it. So I don't want to be unreasonable. I'm just saying that just as things change, times change. Like I was telling you guys before the interview, I have an aunt who died today. She was buried today, and she was 98 years old. So this woman lived through most of the 20th century and made it damn near to 2030. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you go through a lot of changes because life changed. Things become more technologically advanced. People's social mores change. Things that were acceptable, were unacceptable suddenly become acceptable or reversed. And so what I wanted to do with this character was show a person who, if you are forced against your will to keep living, you will change, right? So I've been told, I agree, Infinitum is about redemption. Now, I don't know whether or not Oba gets it or / John gets it by the end, but I would just say, when you look at the Anne Rice stuff, Interview with a Vampire, and these, the sexy vampires and stuff, and they live for hundreds of years, I would not want to live forever. It's just everybody and everything would die, would cease to exist, and you would just keep going and going and going without end. And imagine if you find out in the process of doing that not only can you not die, if you maim yourself to kill you, if you blow your head off, it'll take 1,000 years, but your head will just simply grow back.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And I did that because I'm just tired of us dying on screen. I'm tired of us dying. I was just tired of it. And I'm saying, I don't care what happens. I don't care what this guy does. I don't care what is done to him or what he did to someone else. He will never die. So even when existence ends, he's still existing. That's what I wanted to do. And by the way, I'm working on the sequel.
What? Oh, nice.
Okay.
Is that a Black Comic Lord exclusive?
That sounds like
no. I've announced it before, but I'm working on the sequel. But it's going to take me a second to get to it. Hey, Money, what's up, man?
Yeah. So that's another thing, because you have seen, you read things about people being immortal, but I just haven't seen it play out this way. And this, to me, this just made a lot more sense than people just living the same existence, the same way they've always lived, doing the same old things. This guy just he changed and evolved over time, truly evolved, right? And that's what got me, So yeah, great. So another question I had was, you cover a lot of time periods, but was there one that you covered in the story that maybe was the one that spoke to you the most, or that was your favorite one to really think about and to develop?
Wow. Oh my God, I've never been asked that question before. Wow. Damn, guys. Believe it or not. Well, I love all the episodes, but the one that I felt when I got to that one, when I did that one, I felt like, okay, now I'm doing what I want to do. I'm hitting the right note. Was when John has lived for so long that he basically has become a god, but he's a god who's turned into a mountain, and he no longer cares about the affairs of men. So when they ask him, look, the earth is dying, can we leave? Right? He's like, yeah, sure. Because he's been a man. He's been evil. He's been calculating. He's been good. He's been violent. He's been benign. He's been a god. And now he's gone even beyond that. So it's like, you know what I mean? That was when I did that, I felt like I had done something. Y'all deserve to see yourselves on a scale every bit as large as a Kubrick film. There's 2001. Why can't we be there? You know what I'm saying? And that's what I wanted to do. And it took a while to concoct the story, went through different iterations. And again, I've said this before in interviews, but I must always pay homage to the Afrofuturist community. They allowed me to basically workshop the story in front of an audience.
Oh, wow.
And so the story changed. First, it was an idea. I started on it back in the early 2000s, but I was like, but then things kept changing. And then when I formally got back into comics around 2013, because I was in the comic book industry from the 80s all the way to 99, 2000, got in video games and animation to raise my kids. But when I came back into the game, it's the strangest thing. There are other fantastic creators out there, but I was looking for a book like Infinitum. I assumed there would have been one. And so it's just a miracle that this book was done for me. But I think it's the strangest thing. I wanted to do something and I'm sorry if it sounds like I'm trying to figure it out, because the way you guys treated, what you said to me, I'm not used to that with Infinitum. You know what I mean? Like, I know people love the book. I understand what I did with the book. You all know specifically it was written for you. You know that. So if you're seeing a familiarity or something like that, that was done on purpose. Mm-hmm. That was done on purpose. But the goal was to do something that you guys could feel proud of. Messy, imperfect. Sometimes it's wonky. But I wanted you guys to know that I sacrificed my body to do it. I did. I will never do it again like that. I'm going to be using technology. I can't paint all them frames, man. That stuff hurts, But yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
So your art is great. I mean, if anybody's seen the cover, go back to that for a minute. This is the cover. And the art inside is just as good, if not better. Every single panel is telling its own story, even without words.
Your art style is like, I was telling Derek, if I could describe it to someone,
wow,
it's like Clayton Crane meets Mark Texiera meets Alex Ross, and they all had a baby together.
Wow.
That's kind of the style that you're seeing, right?
Wow. Damn. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, go to that. Go back to that with the 4 panels, Derek.
Wow.
Right there.
Yeah.
If I say Clayton Crane and Alex Ross and Mark Texiera, and you merge all those styles together, that's kind of what we're seeing, but from one man, one talent.
Well, thank you. I am I'm almost embarrassed. Wow. Thank you.
Here's you. And follow up to Derek's question.
Okay.
where he asked you what was your favorite, where you really feel you hit your stride in the book, and you mentioned a part where he had basically turned into a god and a stone, a fixture of the earth. And
why move? Why bother to move? You could just become a mountain.
Right. It kind of reminded me of various religions where ultimately the idea is that you ascend to a certain level where you join the universe, right? It's not about being a particular entity, but you merge with the universe. They say in science, there's no matter that's created or destroyed. It simply changes form, right? And that's what I get with Infinitum, because you have this man who's created and he's gone through all these changes, and ultimately where he is happiest, where he ends up, is simply just joining the universe, because he's gone beyond humanity. He's gone beyond the pettiness of what people do at various levels, good, bad, apathetic, what have you. And he just wants to exist with the universe. And I think I find it kind of interesting that that's the part where you really thought you kind of hit your stride, is when it hit that level.
Right.
I just found that kind of fascinating.
Well, the interesting part is the and I guess some people wouldn't. There's no way you would know this. So initially, that story was 28 pages long.
How?
And then,
how?
Right. It expanded, and it just kept expanding, and there were things that would happen as I was working on it, because I started on this without a book deal. I just started working on it. The book deal came as I was maybe a quarter of a way through it with Amistad. But there would be things that would happen. For example, you can't talk about Black liberation or Black life if you're not also talking about Native indigenous life. You just can't. They're intertwined.
Right.
But I have my limitations. I'm an African American man from Clarksdale. I have blind spots, like everybody has blind spots. So I went to Ohio State to show them what I was doing, and again, workshopping it. My friend Eastus Costa, who does stuff out of Ohio State, there brought me in, and I showed it to the Hispanic student union, which is graduate students and stuff, and I showed them everything. And when I finished everything, a bunch of them just crowded around me and like, "Hello, Mr. Fielder, we love your story. You don't have enough representation of brown people in this." And I was like, well, and at that point I was at 230 pages, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm tired. Why won't it end? It'll never end. It's just gonna keep going and going and going." But I had to be polite. I'm like, "Well, guys, look, I appreciate everything you're saying. I think I'm good, but I thank you for your feedback. But I think I've got it where it was." And they said, "We're going to repeat again. You are missing something, that you need to have more representation of Native Americans in this story." And I was like, "Well, and then I went, oh, hang on one second." And I looked at them, I went, "I got it." It's because, when I teach my concept design classes, what I've done is I have to train my students that words and sounds and images are keywords. So if I say dog, your brain imagines a dog in it, right? If the camera is covered and I make a barking sound, you will see a dog. It's because words, sounds, images are suggestions. So that was a Friday. By this Sunday, I was going home. I had come up with, this is after he burns down all of the plantations. Right. Right. Was very much a Martin R. Delany thing with Blake. Right. That's my homage to Blake, and the Stagger Lee type of High John Conqueror character who can move freely from one plantation to the next. I knew, oh, okay, he's going to go to South America and he's going to become part of the Quilombos, the Maroons.
Yes.
And so, you know, when it calls, it doesn't matter how you feel. Nobody cares how tired you are. You have to do it.
You actually stole one of my questions from me because I was going to ask
I'm so
you.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
No. I mean, that was perfect because, you know, I'm of Jamaican heritage, and so the Maroons was like a big thing. And
yes,
one of my great uncles said our family were descended from the Maroons in Jamaica. And when you had that in that book, I was going to ask you what prompted you to add that portion.
A bunch of Latino students who were calling me on my lack of detail. That's what that was. It's true. And
dope.
when they do it, you just have to go, okay, and you just get it done. That's what you have to do. They weren't asking for the entire book to be flipped over. They were like, yo, put this in here because the story is going to be better with it in there. And if you're smart, if you believe in things being thorough, at least. I mean, I'm not perfect. I try to get a base hit, but sometimes, you strike out, right? But if you don't want to strike out, then you want to pay attention. And so that's what I try to do.
All right. So, a few more questions, and then I do have a pitch for you, which I kind of gave you a year ago, but I want to run that by you. One thing that I picked up on is, this whole thing starts with this curse, and the curse happens because of a vice. It's a combination of a vice, and then he slighted this woman, right? So can you tell me a little bit more about, how you developed this as the starting point for the whole story? He's got a vice, he's got a concubine, right? And then she happens to be a witch. But in your thought process there, how did that impact him later on, I guess is what I'm trying to say, aside from the curse, just that vice, that situation.
Right. Well, technically speaking, in the story, she was raised to be his lover, right? So when he gets the queen that he ends up being with, that is a decision made upon his parents. And a kingdom to, you're joining houses together too. But this guy had been with this woman since he was young, right? And then decided somehow to just, there's just some people you don't want to make your a side chick. You know what I mean? That was like a bad decision. And she was not about that. You can look at that image there, which is arguably my favorite image in the book.
He answered another question I had.
Yeah, he I mean, as his kid, but he took her baby against her will. It'd be different if she was withholding the kid, but no, he was I'm going to take this baby. I'm going to raise him by myself with my bride, and then I'm going to have you killed. Right? Very messy, of course, but it's just, I wanted to show consequences on a galactic freaking scale. The price, what is it? Kenitra Brooks, when I was workshopping this way back in 2017, she said, Tim, what he did to this woman, how could you, what do you think of that? And I said, he's a monster. But the man pays the price roughly for between 1 and 2 billion years, suffering over and over and over. Even when he finds love, they die. Even when he, I've had people, because at one point he has a same-sex relationship, right? And I had somebody reach out to me, man, why did you do that? Did you have to show that? And I'm like, this book wouldn't exist without Chip Delany. And Chip Delany is a gay man. So what, we're going to ignore that? One of my own children is non-binary. What? No, no, let's don't go in there, because I want, this is bigger than us. if that makes sense. I'm trying to show, at least in this book, and it's not perfect. Of course, I'm saying this, I probably missed so many points while doing it, but I want to show that Black life is bigger than us. It's much bigger than sometimes the limited things we give it. It expands, it reforms, it reshapes. I mean, heck, I'm going through this now with this hip hop comic. It's like, by the way, the only other person who talked about Infinitum this way while I'm almost in tears at one point is Calvin Reed. So thank you guys. I appreciate it. Well, he's more like that on Matty, but it's like, yeah, I wanted to do my best to embed meaning. If that makes sense. That's what I was trying to do. And I'm going to have to do it again in another year or two.
All right. And how do you make a sequel to something that's infinite? That's the question in my head. So we'll find out about that one.
Yeah, you will. I don't want to go into it, but I've told one or two people, but yeah. And it's pretty obvious. It's pretty obvious.
Okay. So I want to move on to my pitch. So, this is more like from an IP standpoint, right? Marvel has IP. They have a universe of characters, and then they have additional universes of variants so that you can have more stories, right? And you can refresh the stories but still have the same characters, or reusing that IP. Same thing for DC, right? You have other brands, or they might have completely different stories that are not connected to each other. What I see with yours is you have an epic with the same person over all these periods of time. He's the same person, but he's a different way of being. If you in the Hannibal's time, antebellum as a slave, Civil War as a Buffalo soldier, World War I with the Harlem Hellfighters, all the way to eventually you come to kind of more in the present day, eventually in the future, and now you start becoming interplanetary, cosmic. So my thought process all along is, well, from an IP standpoint, you could actually have a whole bunch of writers and creators, each developing different areas of this storyline, and not be stepping on each other's feet, and just continue to develop the overall detail of what happened, right? So that was my thought. So it was like an infinitum verse, right? And I just thought it was a great idea because I love the continuum of it, and the fact that he's a different person with different people all around and just won't step on things. So that was just my pitch for an idea for a broader, I'm not going to call it universe, but a broader package of stories, around that.
Yeah, I mean, and I hear you. I mean, Infinitum at one point was considered for an option for a TV series, right? For various reasons, it didn't work out. But we're talking about what Infinitum came out in 2021, and by late 2021, we were, it was going to be something, we're going to be deciding whether or not they would do it or not. I won't go into the details of why, but to say that, well, I would say this. The technology exists now. This is the ongoing conversations I'm having with my brother, my twin brother. We're producing partners. We've done, we have our TV series that are long in production that we have to edit, and hopefully we'll be delivering it in the next few weeks to start pushing it out to the studios. But the technology exists now with AI. I'm a 3D animator, but some of the stuff that I see, like, I don't know if you all have seen, was it Pixel Labs just came out with last week it was Motion Brush from who is it? From Runway ML. Now this week is Pixel Labs. And so it's clear we're no more than a year out from basically anyone who can text prompt being able to generate an animated film that is relatively close in comparable quality to a 3D or 2D animated film. That's just a fact. It's not nice. I'm not trying to, anti-AI or pro-AI. I just know that, like the automobile, it's not going away.
Right.
I don't care what anybody says. I don't care. Well, it's not hard and you're the integrity. Yeah, you're probably right, but it's not going away. And I went digital. I don't even draw on paper anymore. I went digital, God, in 99, 98, 99. My first thing was a version of my concept called Black Metropolis. I did it in Meta Creations Painter for Rap Pages magazine. And it was the full render style that I work in. And as soon as I did it, I said, okay, I can never go back. The new tools that I'm using, one point is game engines. I use Unreal from time to time because I build my environments and my sets in the computer. So Matty's rocket is an actual physical rocket that I built. You can open the hatch and go inside of it. There's a chair, there's control panels, because I don't want to be drawing all that stuff anymore. Not over and over again. If you don't mind, can I please drop a light in there, get some shadows and do my paint over just like they do in the video game industry? But that's where we are. So for Infinitum, the obvious next move, as it is for Matty's rocket, is it's time to produce the content ourselves. You don't need 600 people. Did you all see that recent interview with Jeffrey Katzenberg, the head of DreamWorks Animation? Yeah, Bloomberg was interviewing him, and he was saying on stage, I encourage anyone listening to look that up. This guy is saying when he was producing his films, because DreamWorks was blow for blow. Pixar hit him, DreamWorks hit him back. And that went on for several years. And he said it would take 600 people, or however, 500 or 600 people, 5 years to make a high quality animated film. He said in the next 3 years, not 10, but 3 years, maybe 10% of that would be necessary. And if you're going to take 10% of five, you're talking about 6 people roughly, right? 6, maybe 10 people. But I believe the technology is even more powerful than that. I'm 57. People are like, why do you say your age? Because I want people to know that I'm not 27 or 37. I'm 57, right? My career should have been over. My career should have been over 10 years ago, but here we are. And it's because the technology doesn't care. The technology is if you can harness it, you can produce anything. And we are now, for the first time in human history, in a period where we are about to live through, we are literally living through the YouTubeization of animated projects. And because you can control what those projects look like, it doesn't have to look animated. It can actually look photoreal, or like a Pixar movie, or like anime, or manga, or my stuff. So when you're training those models, well, you have to have the images to train the models. Well, I have these things called graphic novels that have nothing but images in them. And like the Corridor Digital guys who did Anime Rock Paper Scissors. Did you guys see that? I would encourage you to go and look at Anime Rock Paper Scissors. Those guys use simple costumes with people on green screen, and basically they generated some art and they made an animated series. And and I'm not saying that to be evil. I'm not saying it to be there are going to be people who are going to lose their jobs, but entire companies, entirely new companies, entire new businesses, ways of working are going to come from it. That is the way of life. We didn't have iPhones 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Did we have Blackberries 20 years ago? I forget. But that's not going away. So as an Afrofuturist, my job is to tell and form the stories of people of color within a techno forward space using the most advanced technology as I can. I believe that is my job. That is my purpose for doing what I do. And I've done it my entire life.
All right. Now, one more quick question, and then I want to get, because you got more fire than just this book. But just one more quick question. I read about some of your inspirations for your art, and just wanted to flash a few of
There he
these
is.
on screen.
There he is.
So, Shusue Nagaoka, I guess.
I
Is how
call
you
him
pronounce
Shusei
that. So,
Nagaoka. I'm sure
okay.
we're butchering his name. Japanese dude. I would encourage again to go on YouTube. Now, he passed away in like 2015. Do you know, and this is why this guy here, I mean, first of all, I'm one of those kids who, the parents who put you in the Eldorado, the Cadillac Eldorado, lime green with the white vinyl top, just like horrible color, and it would be like lime shiny green, you know what I mean? But that car was huge. It was like a tank, but we would be in there, but you had that 8-track. And we listened to the Brothers Johnson, right? Earth, Wind, and Fire, and at a later point, what's his name? Johnny Mathis and Denise Nichols, right? And we would listen to this stuff in heavy, 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 heavy rotation, right? While we were on these 1,000-mile trips, because our parents would put us in the car. We drive to New York City from Clarksdale, Mississippi, or we go out west, that type of thing, with me and my siblings. But the one thing you notice about this album cover is that this guy had these African forms. They were rendered realistically. Now, in this particular album here, this is kind of traditional. But one of the albums shows that the pyramid has multi-leveled floors and ship hangars. So there's ships flying into these hangars, right? And I would see that and I would just wonder, who's in those ships? Who built this? Where are they do they live there? Do they work there? And that fascinated me as a young child because also, other than that, there's this. This is Ralph McQuarrie, John Barry, Joe Johnston, who most people are like, Joe Johnston, isn't that the guy who did Captain America? Yes, he did Captain America, right? And the Rocketeer. But that guy's, he's one of the greatest concept designers who's ever lived, ever. He's brilliant, right? Ralph McQuarrie, without him, there would be no Star Wars. You wouldn't have that look. When Doug Chang, who is great, Doug Chang is trying his best every time to channel Ralph McQuarrie. Ralph McQuarrie, Nagaoka had a tremendous effect on me because they created as best they could, certainly better than I ever did, realistically rendered environments about and of people of color. In Nagaoka's case, there is actually video where they're asking him how he came up with these images. And do you know he showed images drawn by Maurice White? Maurice White described to him what he wanted. This is like Earth, Wind, and Fire, Maurice White. He only had 2 moves, right? He couldn't do it. You know how Maurice would dance, right? But this dude was an Afrofuturist. His thing, Egyptology, that's what it was about. But he relayed this to Nagaoka. So it's not like this guy was just generating this stuff out of his brain in a vacuum. No, the artist was telling him, I want to do this, this, and this, and this. So Earth, Wind, and Fire, the way those things look, the way those album covers look, were very much about intention. Yep, there it is. Look at that. The ships coming out of there. I mean, oh man, that's incredible. Incredible. Now, alternatively, Pedro Bell, Overton Loyd, and there it is again. You know what I mean? When you're seeing, oh my God, this is science fiction and it has humor, it has sexuality in it, and damn, it's on every cover. From back to front, it's like hieroglyphics. That's this, for me, there were other people who did superhero characters for sure earlier, but these guys here, specifically Pedro Bell, God rest his soul, and Overton Loyd is still with us. I had the pleasure of drawing him. about 2 years ago, which is mind blowing. Him and George Clinton, which is absolutely insane. But
Africa Bombada.
you know what I mean? Well, we'll get to that. But what these dudes drew basically set up the foundation that we make our livings from. You know what I mean? That's what they did. You know what I mean? And a lot of the players who are great, you take these guys out, you don't have that. The only person I would hold in similar kind of vein, but only because he was slightly younger, maybe, is Tertel Only, who I consider one of the forerunners out there. You know what I mean? Because Tertel's in his 70s now. This dude been doing it, just about roughly the same period of time. But I mean, you don't have Parliament Funkadelic without Pedro Bell and Overton Loyd. You do not have it. Yeah, the music's dope. Their performances are great, but this is the branding. That's what it is. But I think that branding is Afrofuturism. You don't have Janelle Monáe. You don't have any of that without Parliament and Earth, Wind, and Fire. You don't have it. So I believe you don't have the Black Panther movie. You don't have Infinitum. You don't have Matty's Rocket without Parliament Funkadelic. And in terms of a prose narrative, Chip Delaney's Nova.
The movie Sun Ra came out around the same time as these. Would you think Sun Ra was influenced by them, or they were influenced by Sun Ra?
No.
It's the other way around.
Sun Ra was a contemporary with them.
Right.
There's just some people. Not everybody's going to be George Clinton. Some people, this person here, they're quarterback. That person there, they play safety. But obviously Sun Ra didn't have as much effect when he was doing it. People looking at him, he's from Saturn. Who is this guy? But 50 years later, he's the central figure.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what it is. So I am a child of that. Yes, I have contemporaries, peers who, came around the same time I did. I have had an uneven career, admittedly. But I was talking with my friend Jamar the other day, or I don't know, it may have been Jamar, but what it was, life is long. And where you felt you were in the 1990s, as long as you keep working and you get over the understanding that when you're producing the work has to be seen. No, it's not enough just to make the work. You have to release the work to the public. You can get past that. Produce work off quality, which is very, very hard to do, but you got to do it because nobody cares, right? Nobody's going to care about your deadline. They're going to care about, was the work good? Does it resonate, right? And if you could do that, yeah, we know what you were doing in 1990, but 2023, that could be a completely different story. And here we are. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, it does. It does. Now, we actually have 2 more books to cover. I just want to one quick advertisement for those of you in chat who haven't heard of this book or don't have this book, you can buy it. I've seen it on Amazon. Tim, any other places you recommend they go to purchase this?
I find that you can get it cheaper from the HarperCollins website, oddly enough. They always have it a few dollars cheaper than on Amazon. But that's just me. But yeah, you can buy where all fine books are sold. I love saying that.
And you will not be disappointed with that purchase. So, take a look, go get that book. And next thing. So Matty's Rocket. Maybe a minute on Matty's Rocket. What's your elevator pitch on that?
Man. I love this book.
Thank you so much. Take the world of Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon, intermixed with Jim Crow politics,
Metropolis,
with science fiction, but make Lena Horne and the cast of Stormy Weather as the cast of the story. And you've got Matty's Rocket,
and a little bit of Rocketeer.
Dave Stevens, tremendous influence on me. Do I have his book here? all the time now. I won't dig it out. But yeah, I just got his book. That was the one in the sleeve. The book that came out just before he passed away. It's a beautiful book. That guy was. But see, that's what I'm. And I'm sorry if I'm going off track here, guys. If you can tell me to stop if I'm going crazy here. But
All good.
Dave Stevens has had such an influence on me because actually, let's not deal with Dave. Michael Golden. Michael Golden is one of the greatest comic book artists who ever lived. Ever.
Yes, sir. I love Michael Golden's
art. Ever. If you didn't have Michael Golden, there would be no Image Comics. That's how influential his art style was. And the notion is always that Michael Golden is slow. Well, he's slow, man. He's slow. I'm like, did you look at this man's work?
The
detail he put into that stuff? No. Michael Golden is not meant to do monthly comics from Marvel and DC. Michael Golden can do yearly or every other year. He could do albums like the French Dessiné artist. He is able to do 55, 100-page graphic novels. That's what he's meant to do. He is not meant to draw forever, the Avengers annual. That's not what he's supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? He is a graphic. To me, it was the precursor to the graphic novelist. At least for me, he was.
That actually leads to a question I have.
Yes,
it's kind of a tangential question. Mm-hmm. And I think Derek kind of alluded to this as well. And I really want to get into Matty's Rocket because I really love this book.
I'm here. You guys doing great with time. Just keep going.
Do you think the way comics are today, and there's always those detractors that think, it's the end of comic books. Comic books is gone as a medium. Anime, manga's taking over. Do you think there is a larger future or opportunity for more graphic novels? Do you think that's where comics' future lies, is in doing more graphic novels, more extended, geared more cinematic, geared more towards adults, as you said, more detailed art? Do you think that is the future?
Right. So the comics medium has never been healthier. There are comics everywhere. You can get them online through webtoons, tapas, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that. Comics are everywhere. Graphic novels, in any kind of style. When I do my workshops sometimes, because they bring me in because they'll buy classroom sets of Matty and ask me to come in and do workshops. I have to do one tomorrow morning at a school in Harlem. But one of the most popular, if not the most popular, graphic novel series on the planet Earth is Dogman by Dave Pilkey. It's basically stick figures, right? Or Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So style is completely open to the beholder. That you know what I'm saying? You don't know what's going to connect or not connect. All you can do is try to embed as much heart and plausibility in your work so that it will connect to audiences, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is superhero comics. Their dominance is absolutely without question over. But that was kind of written into the DNA of that. The last time they could have changed that was back in the 90s. When you took comic books out of the pharmacies and the CVS, well, they CVS now, but back then it was Rexall and stuff like that, and 7-Eleven. When you took comics out of those spaces and you forced people to have to go to comic book shops, and keep in mind, I grew up in Clarksdale, Mississippi. I remember the year they stopped selling comics. So we're talking about 1978, 79. All of a sudden, we couldn't get our comics anymore. So we were going months and months hoping to go with our mom, believe it or not, to her Tupperware meetings. You remember Tupperware lady? My mom was a Tupperware lady for a second. And we would have to go with her, endure her showing all these Tupperware products, right? And when we were on the way back home, we would have to beg her, please, Mom, if you just give us 5 minutes, we would go in there, hit that rack, get the copies we want, and we done. And she would do it sometimes she wouldn't. But comics stopped being accessible to regular folks. So I don't know why that decision was made, but it was the beginning of the end. And now what we're living through is what happens when your audience grows older and they begin to age out.
Right.
And that's what's happening. So I have younger kids. Now, my youngest son reads comics, but that's because I raised him as a nerd. My middle guy sort of does it, but his thing is manga and anime. The oldest, my daughter, she don't deal with it all, but she loves her some Justice League or Mandalorian, you know. But superhero comics, they're just not. Yes, 7-Eleven, Junior Food Mart, those are the places we used to go, you know. But it moved away from that. So what you get is when you decentralize your audience, you make it too difficult for your audience to get your product. That's what happens.
And you know, the interesting thing, and I just want to bring up this last point, and we'll get into Matty's Rocket.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we talk about how even with comic book companies, particularly with the mainstream books, Marvel and DC, they gravitate now towards, with the floppies, putting their story arcs in 5 or 6 issues because they want to package them later on.
Yeah, into graphic novels, yes.
Into trade paperback. So, and I noticed that the younger generation now, they're not into floppies anymore. They're not into going down and waiting a whole month to get the next part of the story. We live in a society now, an information age, where people don't want to have to wait for the next part of the story. They want to binge watch a show. That's why Netflix blew up. You could drop an entire season of a show in one night, and you can spend the entire time binging it. People don't want to have to wait. And I, even with my own daughter, who I'm trying to raise to be a nerd and get into comics, I handed her a floppy of Moon Girl. I handed her a floppy of Monica Rambeau, and she's like, "Where's the rest of it? Why are you just giving me this one? I can't wait. Like, what's going to happen next? Can you?" Then I gave her a trade paper. She's like, "Daddy, from now on, can you just give me the whole story? I don't want just the little part. I want the whole story." And that's what I think this generation wants. They want more extended versions of these stories, which is why I think, honestly, now with, as you said, superhero comics going out of fashion.
Well, they're not going out of fashion. They're not going out of. They will no longer dominate anything. That's done.
Right.
That's over. Right.
There's more on the horror comics are blowing up right now. Right. Fantasy books are starting to blow up. Crime noir stories are starting to blow up now. There's more facets to comics than just superheroes, and I think graphic novels really are at a point where they can really blow up as a result of that combination of all those factors.
Yes. First of all, I've used this example before. I don't mean any disrespect by it, but your daughter is kind of like a canary in the coal mine. She's telling you, yo, don't be giving me these floppies that can be ripped up and they're flimsy and,
right.
Like this book here, right? I love this book. This book is only 54 pages long. It's only 54 pages long, right? It can be used as a weapon, right? Because it's hardcover. It's beautiful. It has that nice matte finish. The artwork by my friend Stacy Robinson is beautiful. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It ain't got to be long. It ain't got to be long. It just, we like our books. We like our physical books. Floppies, that stuff is disposable. It can be damaged easily. This right here, I can set that on my table.
Throw that on the shelf.
And not feel embarrassed by it. Yeah. Or, I don't have to do that. Comics, the medium is fantastic. It's one of the most amazing things. The formatting is, if you deliver cheap, your audience the public will eventually call it cheap. Graphic novels, I know some people, I hate the term graphic novel. I love the term graphic novel. because I don't want my stuff to be called the funnies, right? I'm okay if someone calls it a comic book, but graphic novel, sure. You know, what's wrong with branding yourself in such a way where you're allowing yourself to stand aside from something that's been kind of ghettoized, right? So yeah, I'm a graphic novelist. You know what I mean? I'm an Afrofuturist, visual Afrofuturist, and a graphic novelist. That's what I do.
So
Now,
let's talk about your graphic novel.
Okay.
Who is Matty's Rocket?
Yeah, Matty Waddy is a woman who, and her story is told in 3 different forms. She's a young girl, a kind of a adult, and then an elderly woman, and it is set in the alternative 1930s, 1940s alternative past, where the modalities of Jim Crow coexist with a kind of Buck Rogers, Flash Gordon, Fritz Lang's Metropolis modality. And it creates this story that hopefully has heart, whereas Infinitum is a bit of a cautionary redemption tale. Matty's Rocket is all about aspiration.
Yeah,
it is about the central figure is a kind of a facsimile of all of the women who moved me most. My grandmother, my godmother, A.V. Hughes, my grandmother, Ruby Young. The woman who died, you know, who was buried today, Eugenia Angel. You know, these women were elegant, and he did it in periods of time where they were the cultural and practical heads of their households, but there was always a certain level of elegance they carried about themselves. You know, no Nicki Minaj here. I love Nicki Minaj. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna have to paint her very, very soon. But they were not doing that. These were very often church ladies. So Matty is a church lady with a space helmet and a hover bike and a rocket ship.
What's interesting is when you use that term, this book that is based on more of an aspirational thing. And you think about the genre. There's a lot of pulp comics involved in this, influenced in this. And what I mean by that is I read this and I'm thinking of the Rocketeer, and I'm thinking of the Buck Rogers and the Flash Gordon and the Jetsons, quite honestly.
Sure.
And you understand that that genre, that pulp sci-fi genre, was all about the aspiration. It was about visualizing a world where technology could use to enhance people's lives, and it was a positive world. And we weren't really thinking about war as much. We're thinking about what can the human endeavor do. And so you have that layer of positivity with someone who has, because of who she is, has to overcome certain obstacles despite the rest of that within that setting, you know. How did you come about to make this? What was the influence to say, hey, I'm going to pull all this together and actually put this together in a book?
Yeah, not that complicated. You know, again, dealing with the women that I was raised by who had such a heavy influence on me, but also blending the lives of Harriet Tubman and specifically Bessie Coleman together. So Bessie Coleman literally went to France because she couldn't find a person to, train her how to fly. She's from Texas, but she went to, was it Chicago, I believe, became a hairdresser, raised enough money to go to France. And there she got a person who would train her how to become a pilot. She became this acrobatic pilot. So I could take all those different influences from real life, mix them together, mash them around, throw in a little bit of Dan Dare, throw in a little bit of Rocketeer, throw in a little Flash Gordon, because in all those projects, you never saw any people of color, ever.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, an entire city of Metropolis. In fact, the movie's called Metropolis, and there's not one person of color in it.
It's not very metropolitan.
You understand what I'm saying? So the idea, my dad will be 90 in August of next year, and my mom will be 85 in less than a month. So these people were born in the 1930s, and they did not see themselves in visual speculative fiction. I mean,
Yeah.
well, obviously, I didn't see themselves in written speculative fiction either. But what I wanted to do was to rectify that. As a visual Afrofuturist, part of my mandate is to be able to look back and to say, okay, we never had that. Like, you know, I've used this example before, but I think it's very appropriate. When they're making the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park, they don't have a complete DNA strand. So what do? They pull from other animals and they load those attributes into the strand to get a completed dinosaur. In this particular case here, these projects, these products were never made. So since I'm trying to fulfill multiple mandates, I want to show animation. I want to show silent movies. I want to show badly colored Technicolor movies. I want to pay homage to the vaudeville, black vaudeville, you know, Lena Horne, Bill Bojangles, all those people. I want to put all those things together in one project. So that's why Matty's Rocket, for example, the backgrounds are painted, but the main characters are generally flat. I don't go data. That was done on purpose. Right. Now, 5 days before I was going to release Matty's Rocket, and I've never told anyone this.
PC on
okay, yeah. So, you know, initially it was animation, badly done animation, looked good, but it moved horrible, right? So I moved it over to the graphic novel, and initially it was a floppy like this. Right. That's what it was. I stopped doing it because, you know, okay, I have to work just as hard to sell a $5 comic as I do a $20 comic. You know what? I think I'll stick with the $20 comic, right? But I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here, but the idea of doing something that was going to be sepia tone from beginning to end, that's what it was. But I knew, you know what, man, something's wrong with this, because you can't. I mean, the sepia tone part was good, but it was like the whole thing kind of just rotten. I didn't want that, so I literally in a day or two colored parts of it. So for the elderly parts, I would make that monochromatic color, right? But for the parts when Matty is in this particular thing here, I used it with color washes, and I colored all those pages with just washes. And because there's a gray tone, I can use the overlay setting in Photoshop. Basically, it went in. And that's how I achieved that look. So for every image you see here, there's a layer of colors that can take out, and it's just a sepia tone image.
Yeah, I mean, it gives it a very cinematic style. I mean, one of the things that was clearly evident is that it seemed like this was originally intended to be in animated form, and it has that look.
It was in animated form,
right? When you talk about how Infinitum was optioned, this is a book that, quite frankly, I feel very confident would do well as an animated feature. And I wouldn't even change the style in which you did it. I love the fact that your backgrounds have this painted style, and then you've got the 2D animation characters. I would love to see that on screen. I honestly would. And then the whole storyline, because we haven't even gotten to the story of this girl who's, I guess we started in the 1920s, right? Family of sharecroppers in the South, and going through history and having the influences of people like Bessie Coleman and Willa Brown and Mae Jemison, Harriet Tubman. You see all of these great African-American women influenced in this book. There's a little bit of each one of those women in this character, Matty Wadi, who's, I think you said was actually named after
my great grandmother. Yes. Her name was Matty Wadi. You know, that's just what it was. So how do you embed sentimentality into your work? You do it through the tool of homage. I wanted to, you know, this is not my grandmother, but is it a homage to my grandmother? But it's also for my father. Before he leaves the planet Earth, I wanted him to know that his great grandmother was all over the world. So that Smithsonian show, the Smithsonian show that's down in where's this one? I'm sorry, the yellow one there. Not one image of Infinitum in it. All Matty's Rocket.
Well, tell us what the story is. Because we haven't even got there.
Yeah. So Matty's Rocket is about young Matty Waddy, who is the young daughter of George and Helen Waddy. Helen named after my grandmother, who's Helen Lott. Helen Lott Fielder. But the story of a young girl who experiences a traumatic event with the loss of her father, and she decides she wants to learn how to fly, and she's willing to do anything, move any object out of her way to learn how to fly. But in this particular world, the Earth experiences an event that is akin to H.G. Wells. I hope you noticed the H.G. Wells influence with A War of the Worlds. And so the world, even though it is set in the 1930s, what I'm doing is allowing for plausibility to be entered in the story. It's like, okay, so if Earth survived an alien attack in the 1920s, what would they do with the technology that was there? Well, everything would still have the retro Art Deco stylings, but it would be high tech.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't just affect the people in Metropolis, it would affect the sharecroppers and the brothers and sisters living in the cities, and that's what that's about. Because
the change in technology, you said, affects everyone at every level.
Absolutely.
And so it affects her to want to aspire to be more.
Well, she's doing the same thing that Bessie Coleman does, but she has access
on a bigger
to
scale. She has a bigger scale to do that.
Exactly.
I absolutely love that aspect of it. I want my daughter to read this book.
Thank you.
As soon as I put it down, that was the immediate thought I had.
Thank you.
I don't want to give away a major plot point about the father.
Working on books 2 and 3, by the way.
Say it again?
Yeah, I'm working on books 2 and 3 now. I just got to get the comment out of the way, man. Once I get the comment out of the way, then I'm working on graphic history of hip hop, books 2 and 3, and Matty's Rocket. That's it.
I can tell you that in the scene with the father, without doing any spoilers, what his initial adversary, what does it say about, and this is for people that have read it and are going to read it. What does it say about me as a black man that his initial adversaries scared me more than what ultimately happened to him?
Right.
You know?
Is that a rhetorical or is that a question?
I guess it's kind of rhetorical because there's no way you can answer that without being spoilery. But
right.
That's more of a comment to you.
Right. But there's drama, man. It's supposed to be dramatic. But you know what I will say is there's more story. I envisioned Matty's Rocket about 8 volumes.
Wow.
I've broken down most of the volumes already. Well, I've broken down enough material for 2 more books. And the breakdowns, like in these kind of 16:9 panels, it's done. It's been an interesting period. Like before, I really felt like when I did Infinitum, I had maybe 1 or 2 more books left in me. I knew they were going to be big books, but I knew, okay, maybe I'll do Matty's Rocket 2, 3, and maybe the last big book I'll do will be, the sequel to Infinitum. But, beyond that, I'll probably be spent physically because it's just too much to do. But now with the technological leaps with gaming engines and AI, maybe I got another 20, 30 books in it.
You might be able to do some interesting things with it too.
Yes.
I had a big question about these ads you have in Matty's Rocket.
Ah, wow. No one's ever asked me that. Yes. Thank you.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Can't see what you can see.
Captain Battle and the Mole Man.
Captain Battle and the Mole Man.
Yes.
I mean, this pops up periodically as ads.
Right.
Which is very cool, by the way, as sort of a pulpy homage to the ancient comics back in the day.
Thank
but
you.
I'm also curious about these references.
Yeah.
Paul Robinson,
Yes.
Ethel Waters, Herb Jeffries, Hattie
Yeah.
McDaniel.
Yeah. They did those movies. When those movies fun when you saw them, man.
I mean, when you start
I'm
thinking
joking.
about the speculative world, right?
Yeah.
You're thinking about the speculative world,
Right.
where things are a little different. And if there was an alien invasion and people realize that, you know, aliens are real and this technology exists, the films would have changed as well.
That's right.
And I imagine and it's like you're imagining these are what these films would be popular, and you have those advertisements in there. Can we expect a spin-off series?
Oh, man, I ain't got time for that, man. I got all this other stuff I got to do, man.
Bro, I am a sci-fi geek. I'm a comic book geek, but I'm also a sci-fi geek. And when I think about how hardcore as a kid I enjoyed Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, but always begrudged the fact there wasn't a black Flash Gordon, or Buck, at least not until I learned about Bungleton Green.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, Captain Battle speaks to me.
Well, Captain Sam Battle was a real cop. He was a real police officer in Harlem. And Captain Battle was a kind of a public domain character, but I always wanted to see that type of thing, and its character popped into my head, and I was like, oh wow, let me do it. And, I want to do multiple posters, so I have other posters that I'm working on that'll be used for future volumes they're almost as chapter diversions, and they are really world building. How can I build the world of Matty's rocket, but not necessarily tell stories about Matty? Like I have the ship descriptions in there, but I have different ships, and I have enough for the next 3 or 4 volumes, 2 or 3 volumes.
I would, Derek did his pitch. I got to do my pitch.
Okay. Oh Lord.
Derek,
man, I'm one person, man. I'm one man. But go ahead.
Just a minor pitch. Take a page out of Rodney Barnes's run in Philadelphia, and make a backup story in your next couple of Matty's Rockets with Captain Battle. Just a couple pages of just some story in every issue. You said you got enough for 8 issues or so. Do some Captain Battle stories in the backup.
Well, this is what I would rather do. I started writing Captain Battles of Pearls Pulp book a while ago, but I haven't. Again, the technological shift that's occurred in the last year, potentially, as long as my health can hold, extends my career for another 20 years.
Good.
So there are projects that I had to in my brain saying, okay, I will never get to that. And you never know. I can get hit by a car. You don't know. I hope not. I would hope I'm around to do what I need to do. But I've never been this busy in my life. I've never been this excited in my life, because now I'm not 27. So certainly I had the energy and the dexterity as a young man, but now I'm 57. So now all of my projects are much more targeted. It's just that this is just me talking. And I guess I could show, I'm going to show a little bit more of it as time goes on, but I would like to share the screen just to show you guys what's happening.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So the technology is advanced to such a level now where it is possible for me to draw my material and to produce the equivalent of a 120 to 200 page graphic novel, probably in 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
That did not exist prior to the technology that exists now.
And we're thinking about this fact for which project?
There's Matty's Rocket 2, 3, 4, all the way to 8, the sequel to Infinitum. I'm doing another project. It will be my first middle grade project. I won't announce the title of that. I got to use the graphic history of hip hop. So the first comic is done, but now we've been contracted to do 2 and 3, which I have to be done with by June of next year. Before, I would be terrified of doing all this work because I can't finish it all. But now the tech, I got a shot to finish. Meaning it should realistically, I could probably crunch it out in less time, but comfortably you can do a 120 to 200-page graphic novel in about 3 to 4 months.
I see that sign behind you that says Diesel Funk.
Yeah, that's my
It's
company.
your imprint. What does that name come from? What does that mean?
Milton Davis came up with is the person who I'm aware of who came up with that term. Now, diesel punk was an idea that was kind of originated around William Gibson's book, The Difference Engine, and that genre of like steampunk, and then Milton did it steam funk and diesel funk. And there was a point where Matty was going to be published by another publisher, but that went south. And here I was I had a finished comic, and here I was in November. I'm like, damn, man, I wanted to make the Schaumburg Black Comic Book Festival. What am I going to do? I had worked with an eyewear company, and I got a little funds to be able to LLC that sucker. And I said, oh, Diesel Funk is an awesome name. No one was using it. So I took it and made my company. And that's I guess, oh my God, next year's is 9 years. I'm almost a decade in now. But why not? It's a cool name. The name's dope, so I used it. It's like Afrofuturism. Yeah, we didn't originate the name. Mark Derry did. But the term is dope. And there are bigger battles to fight. So let's keep
Speaking
going.
of stuff that's dope, you've got some other books coming out.
Yeah. Graphic History of Hip Hop with my partner in crime, Dr. Walter Greason. Oh, sorry, you got it up there on the screen. And this thing is I have a complicated history with hip hop because I'm a square. But Walter brought me on this project. I mean, he said he's always wanted to work with me. And he approached me at December of last year. I said, hey, Tim, just contact you, man. I want to do this project with the Department of Education. So
this is the New York Department of Education.
Yes, and I will speak a little bit more in detail because we're about we head to Nashville tomorrow to present this version, but our version of it as well, to the National Council of Social Studies. This project was done in conjunction with New York City Department of Education. Thing that makes it important is that it took a book that was designed to work with New York City curriculums. So literally, 2 weeks ago, we were doing a professional development with teachers, or New York City school teachers. Probably the first one to work with a hip hop comic. Now the Civics for All comics group here that made this book, Joe Schmidt, they were gracious enough to bring us in and we came up with this concept. They dug it. There's 24 pages of comics with a little back and front matter. And our version will have an additional 20 or 30 pages in it.
And this will be free to the students in New York.
Well, this version here is free to students in New York. Our version will be for sale.
Okay.
But we wanted New York City to be able to get their thing out. That ends now in, what time is it? An hour and a half. You know what I'm saying? So December, it's basically me and Walter doing our thing. But we will always support the New York City school system. They've been extraordinarily gracious and expansive. It's like, I don't know if anyone sees it here, but I wanted to embed as much as I could. I don't know if you could see it there.
Yeah, Derek, do you have any panels that we can show?
You see the corners there, guys? You see the corners?
There's yeah. The B-boy. Yeah. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, that's my job. Well, I will admit, when I took this job, I was like, oh, this is B-money. They paying, yeah. Nah, I see it as every bit as important as Matty's Rocket and Infinitum. It has been one of the most fulfilling projects I've ever worked with in my life.
Right.
Hip hop is, I would not want to be a practicing hip hop artist. It just seems cutthroat. And for the women, oh my God, the stuff they have to go through. I mean, hip hop culture and hip hop music, they're obviously interrelated, but they can at times be two different things. But this thing it's been a labor of love. I've had to, Walter has been so patient with me. Don't worry, Walter, I'm almost done. Hang with me, brother. We tried to embed everything. It's, graphic novels or comics are about to dance between words and pictures and the synergy that comes up. So sometimes you write it down, sometimes you show it, sometimes you do both. And it's about that delicate balance. But in this particular case here, a large amount of it, I do this thing called the Diesel Funk Dispatch. It comes, 2 or 3 times a week, and it's portraiture. So here, because these people are alive, some of them are not anymore, you kind of have to use a lot of portraiture. So a lot of reference collecting for this. The term I use, drowning in rappers was the term I used, but it's what it felt like, drowning. But because I just had to do them all, okay, you got NWA there, you got Eminem, you got Snoop, but you don't have any of those guys without MC Hammer. We all know MC Hammer was like was the biggest act on planet Earth at one point.
At the time, yeah.
Even my square butt saw MC Hammer in concert. It's crazy, man. So yeah, that's what it was. That page there was what I call the hell page, because there's so many. I had to paint so many so many rappers, man. Just because the native tongues is so many people in that group. And again, just doing this project forced me to. I was forced, because you have this script, gives you information, but sometimes the information leads to other things that you don't know. So I've had to educate myself so much more. I'm not an expert on this. Walter is the hip hop scholar. I am merely the artist. Right.
I have a question for you, Walter.
Yes. Yeah.
You were kind enough to grace us with some of the promotional materials.
Sure.
To look at. This book goes through like the history. You got the New York rappers, you've got the native tongues, you got the West Side, you got the South Side, you got Midwest, and you're talking about all these various stages of hip hop. You got Tupac there. There's one rapper that was not included in the promotional materials. I'm curious if he's in a book, because you live in New York, big New York rapper. I'm from Brooklyn.
Okay.
Where's Biggie Smalls?
That's not true. Biggie's there, man.
Okay, so he wasn't in the promotional materials.
No, Biggie's in the comic, man. I thought you were going to say like Kanye, but Biggie's in there. Hold on a second.
Kanye's still on the canceled list. I didn't see Biggie Smalls. See, I don't have that page. I didn't have that.
Well,
page.
that's because you got we can't release the whole book, man.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, brother.
Hold on, wait. This guy's trying to say I didn't have Biggie Smalls in there, man. Look in the sky.
Yeah.
So yes, this is so. I mean, all joking aside. First of all, we knew we were not going to be able to hit on everything. There's just no way possible.
It's not possible.
It's not possible. I have had grown executives, grown people, like, you got to have this person in there. You've got to have that, and they're shaking their head just like I just did it. And I'm like, I am merely the artist. Please, I can only draw so fast, But that's what I'm saying. I've not had. I'll show you this. This is how crazy this has been. I've never shown this, but I don't mind.
Averted, man, you got Biggie. That's crisis was averted for me.
I'm going to show you this. Hold on. This is the most insane thing. It's not insane. It's just what it is. What's been happening. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this here. This will be entertaining. Let me turn the volume up on this a little bit. Here it is. Is this it? No, that's not it. Here it is. Hold on.
Are they holding up your book?
I've never seen anything like that. I've never experienced anything like that before. I consider myself a professional, but I never had nobody swarm me over Matty's rocket or anything like that. It's just a subject, man. It's world culture.
Which book was that they were?
That was the graphic history of hip hop. That was
Really?
a week and a half ago.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Maybe it could be an anomaly. I don't know. You know what I mean? But we got to go to Nashville tomorrow for the National Council of Social Studies, and not just we have copies to give away because these variants are free, but we'll have our own book version of it. And maybe I'm wrong, guys. I've been wrong before. I'm starved off of being wrong, numerous times over the course of my career. But this hip hop thing, you're talking about something that is bigger than us.
Yeah.
You're talking about world culture at this point. Like Afrofuturism, thank God, thank you, Lord Jesus. Afrofuturism we seem to be doing good. Now we have issues in the Afrofuturist graphic novel space, which is one of the reasons that's another thing that we got to deal with. That's why, with Black Comic Lords, I think John and I were talking about this the other day. We need to have some kind of industry-wide group trying to promote it, because it's if we're dependent upon the mainstream system somehow making our products viable, then that's not going to work. Yes. We have to be able to sell.
Don't reveal our evil plan to take over the world.
Okay, so should I stop talking about that?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, HBCUs, sororities and fraternities, Essence Festival, Black bookstores, social media. It has to be a concerted effort by different publishers. It has to be the equivalent of Got Milk for Afrofuturism, for Afrofuturist graphic novel. It has to be that, and it can't be something that's part-time. It's going to be full-time, and it's got to be unidirectional. It can't just be only this person or that person. It's got to be all of them together. Indies, and maybe I'm being a little bit biased by just saying the Afrofuturist graphic novel genre, but I'm saying specifically that form because it's new. It's in its infancy.
Right. I mean, Black Panther really opened the door to that concept, and I think that's really why it hit a huge segment of society, because a lot of people had never even seen, outside the fact that it's a Marvel movie and superheroes and stuff. What it depicted was a concept of Afrofuturism that many people, that was their first time really sort of seeing that or being exposed to that.
Right. On a mass level, absolutely.
On that scale. And we just need for more pushes like that in that genre, in that direction, outside of superhero comics, to make it to make there be a paradigm shift in people's minds and make there be open to that concept. And one of the things I loved about Matty's Rocket is even in essence, you got the concept of steampunk in here as well,
right?
Which is, I think, a really unexplored area for Black people. There's this movie coming out now called what is it? The World of Magical Negroes or something like that. I mean, there's a lot of potential within our culture, and we talk about it's bigger than us. Our culture is the world. Is world culture.
It's world culture.
Yeah, our culture is world culture at this point. And it's a lot of untapped and unexplored areas that we really haven't explored yet.
However, let me say this. This is where I draw the distinction, because this has come up several times in some of the talks I've had. I don't think there are so many operators in the Afrofuturist space now, whether it be horror-based, sci-fi based, action-adventure based. We good. Some books look simple. Some books look complex. They all are not the same. The problem is you've got the audience doesn't know about it. And if you depend strictly on mainstream trade publishers or Marvel and DC. I'm not saying that they, have some ill intent. I'm just saying they just don't know how. They don't know how to do that. How do you sell these things to Black folks? We don't even know where they are.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So if your focus is just selling to stores owned largely by white men in a rapidly shrinking market, then the last thing they're going to be talking about, man, you know what? I want to sell this book about this Black guy who can't die. That's going to go over big. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to go over big. But if there are roughly a little bit under 100 Black bookstores. HBCUs, there's 100, roughly, HBCUs. Sorority and fraternities of the AKAs and the Qs and all that. I mean, these people are willing buyers. They just can't get access to the material.
Yeah.
So that's what needs to happen. That, in my opinion, and I'm saying this publicly because I think it's important that it be said, but it has to be a sustained effort by both big and small publishers or people like myself who kind of have their hands or their feet in both. I'm an indie on one hand, on the other hand, I have a book out from a major company. And it just means something that's very different these days. You know what I mean? It's like, what is a self-published comic? You know what I mean? It's like Infinitum. Okay, it looks good, but Matty's Rocket looks good because they're using the equivalent of the same technology to produce the books.
Yeah.
As long as I do a good job in terms of how it looks, who cares where it's published?
Yeah, right.
Because the technology doesn't care. You can as a some people call them gatekeepers, some people call it quality control. But whatever it is, the tech doesn't care anymore. If a good artist is a good artist, whether or not it's self-published or published by a mainstream publisher.
And more importantly, it's important that as long as you get to keep the IP, who cares who publishes it? Doesn't matter.
The audience doesn't care.
Right.
The people who care are the people who run the publishers, the publishing houses. And look, don't get me wrong. I'm totally down with the publishing industry. If my career would not be where it is without Infinitum, it just wouldn't.
Right.
But their infrastructure is where it is. Their marketing focus is where it is. That's where their investments are, and that's not likely to change unless there's a huge amount of money sitting there and a lot of supply they can throw at that demand.
Sure,
right? So,
but we know how that works. There won't be any demand for our folks if we don't properly market. There has to be the equivalent of for that.
Everything we've done in our culture as a people, everything great has always been at the grassroots level. Yeah, it's always started at the grassroots level. So it's a matter of how do we get the material out there through the avenues that we have at our disposal. And quite frankly, we're in the information age. It should honestly be a lot easier, you would think.
It is easier.
Changing people's perceptions, but also getting the stuff out there.
Well, it is easier. And that's why I would now, like I spoke with this guy, Jason DeHart. So I'm going to issue you guys a challenge now. You guys have a channel here. You've been doing this for how long now?
Almost 3 years.
3 years. There's a unique opportunity, I think, for someone to merely create a slogan or a delivery system. Like you said, you're recording me, right? Is this being? Yeah, it's obviously being recorded. If each person can say, "Hey, my name's Tim Fielder. I do this book, and this book. I believe in visual Afrofuturism," or some phrase or whatever, right? And that's just put out on social media every day, without fail, right? If you right now, I would say of all the indie operators and mainstream operators, which is only a handful, of operators, they just did that, and that work was promoted and just put out. Social media, it's free. Social media is free, right? It only costs the time to make the ad or make the video. But if that's done, and it's done in a concerted manner, and it's allowed to be pushed out every day without fail, then I think it would be slow, but it would be much more gradual in terms of building an audience. It's like book talk, right? Book talk is successful because they're relentless in covering books. That's what has to happen. You know, it's going to be a lot of ego in it, obviously, because that's, why should I work with this person, or, why, it's always that type of thing. But that's the only way this sector we're working with. I don't know what that laugh is about there. I'm going to leave that one alone. I'm going to walk away from that one. But
no, Derek and I are laughing because this is literally, our everyday. These are the things that we struggle with, and the perils of being a Black comic lord.
Okay, so then your challenge is a call to action. To issue a call to action. If you say, Tim, what we need from you is we need a 1-minute video of you talking about your project, right? Talking into the camera, hold the book up, tell us where you can get it, your social media handles. How many Black Afrofuturist comics or prose books are there out there? How many? I mean, just guess.
We did
thousands
times, not
You know what I mean? Make the call. And what if only 5 or 10% of them reply? Well, if you got 100, that's 100 days of content that you can get something from your Black Comic Lords presents. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, I'm Tim Fielder of Diesel Funk Studios. I do Infinitum, Matty's Rocket, and the graphic history of hip hop. You can go to @DieselFunk on all social media handles, and you can find my work. Peace. See, that's it.
I think we're going to record that little clip and do that. You want to redo that, Derek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it right now.
Okay. Oh, you
grab the book. Grab the book.
Grab some books.
All right. Hang on. Let me do this right here. Let's see. And also, some people are going to be scared to do this, but they don't even have to. They can just hold the book up.
Just hold the book up.
All right. So, you ready?
Wait, hold on. Let's get us off the screen. Leave him, Derek.
Okay.
All right. Hold on a second.
And 1, and 2, and 3, and go.
Hello. Tim Fielder here, author of Matty's Rocket, Infinitum and Afrofuturist Tale, and the graphic history of hip hop. I'm a visual Afrofuturist and graphic novelist. Buy my books. Go to Diesel Funk, @DieselFunk on all social media handles. I need you to buy my books. Thank you, Black Comic Lords. Peace. See how quick that was? Fast stuff. So if you get 200 people to do that, right? If you can get Stanford Green to do it, if you can get David Walker, whoever they are, whoever feels, some people might
feel free to call Stanford Green and David Walker and tell them to come on the channel. We'd be happy to have them.
Well, I mean,
or to send us their video. Hey,
but that's what I'm saying. You might not get it. You just look, I need you to make this video, preferably do it in horizontal format or whatever.
Yes, please.
I'll leave that because you might not get all of them, but who cares? Just get as many of them as you can. We are taking on water. We got to plug the holes. And the only way to plug the holes, you got to sell, and people got to know about this stuff. And it can't be, it's like what you guys are doing is providing a fantastic service, but you know how it is. If you want this to hit, it's got to be every day, a non-relenting campaign. That's what it's got to be.
You got me fired up.
Okay. I didn't mean to, I don't want to put no pressure on nobody. I'm just saying.
A little bit of pressure, but that's all right. That's what we do.
Okay.
Tim, there's something that we always like to ask along those lines of all the people that we interview. We take this stuff to heart. This is what we're passionate about. This is what we love. And when we interview people, we consider you part of our family. And so we'd like you to do a little snippet, just like you did, and where you say your name and say, I'm a Black Comic Lord, because you're initiated now.
Okay. You ready?
Go ahead.
Yep. All good.
My name is Tim Fielder. I am a Black Comic Lord.
That's where it's at. Thank you very much.
All right. Nice. So just quickly, just to recap, I'm just gonna put a few of these pictures up. So first of all, we talked about the graphic history of hip hop.
Yep.
So this is I guess the version that went out to the New York schools, right? Is that correct?
Right.
This cover that you see here.
Civics
I
for
guess you
all.
have another variant that'll be available very soon, right?
Yes.
Okay. So where can they go to find? Where can people go to find out about that? Do you have anything you can share yet?
GraphicHistoryOfHipHop.com is where you can see all of our information. The information on the new variant will be released shortly.
Okay. All right. Now we're gonna go back to Matty's rocket. Let's see. I think it's this one. All right. So this one. Where's the best place to find this one?
You can go to mattysrocket.com or dieselfunk.com, and you can see all things Matty's Rocket related. Working on books 2 and 3. I hope by the end of the year I will have at least book 2 done, but possibly 2 and 3.
Okay. Now we have a question about the hip hop book from
Yes.
NBA Live. By the way, NBA Live Girl, you won on our on a show we had a few weeks ago. And if you want your item, make sure you follow up with us via email. We got your original email, but we need an address. All right. Okay. So, question about this physical copy of the hip hop book.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll be uploading everything to Ingram hopefully next week. We will present everything this weekend in Nashville. It's a lot of work to be done, but the book will be available in the next several weeks. We have an official release date that'll be in a month or so, but yeah, that's what's happening. Yes, there will be a physical copy of the book, but it'll be whereas this thing here is like 36 pages, which is wonderful. I love what they did. But our version will be like between 50 to 70 pages.
That's what's up.
Okay. All right. And are you able to tell us, is this going to be a one shot, or are there going to be other?
No. The graphic history of hip hop this is volume 1. We just got the green light to do volume 2 and 3, which I have to be done with those by June of next year.
Wow. Just in time for my birthday.
Yeah, see, man, I don't need all that pressure, man. But yeah, no, that's what's happening.
Okay. And then last, going back to Infinitum. So we covered this one, HarperCollins website. You can also find it on Amazon. Anything else you want to say about Infinitum, Tim?
Yeah, you can go on infinitumbook.com or dieselfunk.com, and you can see all of the works for, it tells a little of the backstory of what happened with Infinitum. And yeah, it's a labor of love, and I hope to be able to get to the sequel, like formally say, okay, I'm going to spend 6 months doing the sequel, because I could just do it much faster now. I would hope that I'm able to get to it either in late 2025, certainly 2026.
All right. We will be on the lookout for that, and we will be happy to have you back to talk about or promote that book when the time has come, if it's good for you.
All of these books.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would ask if the time comes when the physical book for the graphic history of hip hop comes. I'm sure myself and Walter would be more than willing to make ourselves available, and y'all can grill us over the coals. Like, I know you're, man, why didn't you have this person in there? And we can just talk about the hip hop comment. Oh my God, everybody has an opinion, and it's great. I love it, but it's just, they're passionate. It's so fascinating to see.
Great. Well, we just want to
email us, man. It's nothing but air and opportunity.
That's absolutely right. Right. So we just want to thank you so much, Tim, for joining us. Especially, you kind of told me beforehand that you got a late night in front of you. So thank you for giving us the time that you gave us, and for the advice and the challenge. Paul and I are going to take that and digest it and figure out how we can make something like that happen. All right. So just a few final items of business just for the people in the chat. So, most of you who watch your channel, about what we do. We have live shows. We have a Friday night live show. Paul, do you have a show tomorrow night?
That's a
if you
good
can do one
question.
or
I
not.
honestly don't know the answer to that. I got to check with Mark. I don't know if he's in town. He travels a lot.
Okay, so Paul and Mark try to do a show on Friday nights. Real Talk with Rich on Sunday. I do believe we're gonna have one of those. We're working on what we can do to get the a ladies live started back up. But just make sure you also check in on some of the recent specials. You saw tonight's interview. We've interviewed a lot of other creators, and we will continue to do so as much as we're able. So you can see some of these on the screen here, other previous ones. Also, don't forget Shook. I believe that'll be coming out soon, available to purchase. So keep an eye out on that because we're really excited about that book. Paul, anything else you want to mention?
Look, there's a lot of other things we've got working on in the back burners. I can't talk about it, but just keep a lookout. The people are like, why don't you interview this person? Why don't you trust us? There's no one you can say that we haven't interviewed that we're not thinking about it or working on it. It's a lot. We got a lot of stuff on our plate. So just keep an eye out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So
and the best way to be notified is to subscribe to the channel, hit the little subscribe button, and hit the little notification bell at the bottom right there. It's right there. Go ahead and hit the bell. And then you'll know about everything that we've got coming out. It'll pop up on your screen.
Subscribe, like, tell a friend. Grassroots is how we get our word out. So, do all of those things. It really helps us out. So once again, Tim, thank you so much. For Paul, this is Derek. We're checking out now, but thank you so much for joining us in the show. And hope all of you have a great rest of your week. Take care, all.
Peace.